Welcome to the Home Building Hub, your essential podcast guide to building your new home. Hosted by industry experts Colin Bischoff and Darren Brennan, this conversational podcast will help better educate you about all things new home building so you can avoid costly mistakes and enjoy your building experience to the fullest, no matter which home builder you choose.
Hey there folks, welcome to the Home Building Hub. You are with Colin and co-host Darren Brennan as always. Today, Dazza, inspired off an email we received from Faith up in Queensland, we're going to talk about what you must know before buying untitled or unregistered land. Her email to us had a few of those questions and prompted us to sort of bring the topic to the surface. We've covered some of this between episodes back in the day, I suppose, within 18 months ago, perhaps, Darren, but thought we'd bring something fresh out to give you guys some really, there's 4 sections we're going to cover and give you everything you need to know for those of you out there that are looking to purchase land that's not yet titled, not yet registered. And that should be really helpful. How you going,
mate, fantastic. And number one, thanks, Faith, for the email. We really appreciate it. And anyone out there who's got any questions that they want answered, we're really rapt to be able to get some of that insight from you of the things that you don't know, that we can really share our insights on and hopefully help you through the journey, but it also helps others. So, in Faith's case, we've replied to her email, but also it's given us an opportunity to create an episode that just adds value to more people with, I'm sure, going to have exactly the same question, Cole. So it's fantastic. So we really appreciate it.
Good.
And please shoot any of those our way, and you'll see that we will bring them into an episode where they're suitable to do so. So, so you can have an impact on the Home Building Hub from just shooting us an email, which is great.
Perfect. So we'll keep it short, this one, Darren. Let's just get the answers out to the people and they can use that before they go and purchase. So firstly, what is untitled or unregistered land and what are the pros and cons of it?
Yeah, well, I guess you've got land that is either titled, meaning that it's ready to be built on, or it's untitled, and that could be anywhere from still being a paddock right through to nearly ready to be titled, being that the roads and stuff are in, but it just hasn't quite gone through the titles office. So that could be untitled land. So there's that 2 sorts, ready to build on and either not quite or dating back as far as a paddock. So there you 2. I guess the pros of looking at either side is if you've got a particular block that you want, you might want a 500 square metre block, and there's no titled ones, but there are untitled ones, then buy an untitled one. So you can always try and find the block you want that's either titled or untitled, depending on what's available. So it can be a pro either way, is to lean on either side of that, titled or untitled. You get more time if you're buying an untitled block. You've got a little bit more time to save money. So you can put down an initial deposit, secure the block of land, sign a contract, and then whilst you're waiting for that land to title, and again, in this market, you'd like to hope the land would title in, say, 12 months. If it was just being released now, about 12 months. But in the peak of the market, in the last, cycle, Cole, we saw some stuff taking up to 3 years to title. And that's an excessive amount. We wouldn't expect that from some of the big developers and stuff. But depending on the challenges, etc., that the developers face, could take that long. 3 years is a long, long time, but you can save a lot of money in 3 years as well. So think of the positives, right, when that's the case. So as long as you can work your way through that. Some of the cons, I guess, is if it doesn't register on time. So often the developer might say it's going to title in 12 months, but for whatever reasons, those time frames are blown out, and then that certainly delays the starting of your home. But it often also means that the cost to the builder's gone up because those costs are rising. The builder only sets their price for a given period of time. Some of them might be 6 months, some might be 9 months, 12 months, 18 months. They hold their price for. Outside of that period of time, there'd usually be additional costs. People do get pretty annoyed with that additional cost. Cole, you and I have dealt with it for years. I can say from the builder's side, please don't get annoyed with the builder if your land's delayed, right? There's not a lot you can do, right? The developer won't compensate you. They just won't. well, I don't think I've ever seen a developer compensate someone for their titles being late. I don't know if you have, Cole, but they're not going to compensate you. You're just going to have to grit your teeth and pay that additional money that's required if it's required. And generally, the builder will work with you to try and make that as little amount as possible. So, but also you don't want your builder going broke because they didn't charge that money and all of a sudden they can't finish your house. So, we saw a lot of people sort of understanding as the last cycle went round and there were builders suffering from that they started to become more accepting of, I get it, probably got to pay some, but it's not the builder's fault that land's not titled on time. It's the land developer's delays, but there is no recourse generally on that.
So what we'll do is we'll cover the 4 areas that you need to know and break that up a little bit for everyone to make it a bit easier in some bite-sized chunks. Okay, so we'll talk about all those things. The first one I'll cover, Darren, is really and truly understand the impact of untitled land on what it means, I suppose, and what's the real impact. For example, if your land is expected to title in 12 months, as per Faith's example in the email she sent us, that means that you will not be starting to build that house if it's titled on time in 12 months for about 13 months. You will not site start for 13 months. Okay, so you've got a build time of, let's say, 6, 9 months, whatever it may be, on top of that again. So you're 2 years away from having a house, right? That's what you have to plan for. That's 2 years of extra time to pay rent, and factoring in if it's single or double or whatever it may be, as a house, extra time to pay rent, extra time to coordinate which school are the kids going to. Should we be planning for them to go into the new area where we're going to build the house, or should we hold them back to where we are for now? And all these everyday practical life decisions need to be factored in. If it's an investment, you need to understand that buying on untitled land means that if you're delayed, that means that's every month that you're delayed is every month you're not getting rent paid to your account with a tenant in your home. These are the everyday practical impacts. So contingency pricing from your builder, meaning we'll protect the price for 12 months. And then after that, if the land's delayed, there'll be a figure that you have to pay to protect it for longer, basically. And we will dive that a little bit more detail, I suppose, as we sort of get through this. But essentially, that's such an important part of the process is contingency, and you understanding how long my price protection period is, e.g. 12 months, and if you need to have any more contingency thereafter in your building quote or contract, you must have that in there. So it buys you that extra time. In Victoria, Darren, it's about $1,000 a month, roughly, builder dependent. So if the land, your site start is in 14 months from now, and your builder's protecting it for 12 months, you've got to have 12 months, and then you'll have an additional $2,000 in your quote to cover the extra 2 months. My advice is just to add a few more months to that. Like, you may as well put it up front in your building quote, make sure you're covered, and then have a little note there that you get it credited back if it's not used from the builder, is my advice to people usually. Rightly or wrongly, that's how I sort of play it, Darren. The last one, in terms of understanding the impact on untitled land, is make sure you've got a broker that understands construction lending, which we say so many times. They have to understand that, hey, you've now got time to save the additional money you need to get the deposit ready in time for the title, which is a great reason to buy untitled land because it buys you that time, but you still get to lock in a block in an earlier stage in an estate that you're happy with. So there's a benefit, but there's also a bit of preparation and planning to make sure you'll be ready to settle on that block when it does come out.
In line with that too, Colin, a lot of people also buy the block early, and by the time the land title comes out, the value of the block's actually gone up considerably.
Yeah.
We've seen that a lot. And again, the current market's pretty stable, but we've seen that a lot over the years. A lot of people have made a lot of money.
Yeah.
I know we've made money on doing that before. I think you might have done the same, mate, knowing that, you bought this block much cheaper than what it'll be worth when it settles. So
yeah.
It's and it's a risk. That's don't be buying it just because of that, but because it is a risk. But often you get some really good equity in your land because of that time frame that you've got up your sleeve. I guess number 2, mate, is get a real estimate of when you when the titles are forecast, and when the registration will be. And part of doing that is to go and do a little bit of history on what it took on previous stages. So that particular development, if it's stage 3 or stage 4 in that development, were they on time previously? What sort of time frame were they taking? It'll give you a good idea as to how well they operate as a business. So ask those questions and get a bit of a guide on where that sort of sits. Sometimes you'll find that information on their website because you'll see when the blocks were originally released, and they might have like a section that does have title updates and stuff, and it'll show that time frame. Ask the builder consultant as well. They'll often say, mate, might be better off on the estate next door that's, flying along and they're always on time versus this one that's, dragging its tail a bit. So have those sort of conversations. They will be able to generally help you out. I guess that helps you with your budget, in line with one, saving enough money and time, but also allowing for that contingency funds that you sort of need to have up your sleeve. If you don't have a bit of a buffer there, you're crazy, right? Like, make sure you've got a few dollars up your sleeve. And we say a few dollars, we're not talking $10 or $20. We're probably talking you want to have, a buffer of maybe 10 to 20 grand, that just in case things go wrong, that you can sleep at night knowing that I've got this little bit of a buffer up my sleeve. So if you're borrowing to the last cent, then you're probably going to have some headaches if something goes astray. Yeah, so don't do that. And I guess what you want to understand is what is the amenity that's going to be proposed in the area, and are they confirmed and are they not? And there's an example at the moment where there's an estate in Melbourne where they were proposing a big shopping centre, one of the big chains, and that's now not happening. So the big chain stores pulled out, and a lot of these buyers bought on the pretense of that chain store happening. So, I've lived in a state previously where they, were promising a train station. I reckon it took 15 years to come, and it was meant to take 5 or 6. So understand, what are these time frames like? Is it locked in? When's the progress going to take place? And see how that goes. There's so many examples of these things not quite going on time that may impact you. You might be buying in a particular estate because there's going to be a road installed that'll give you really quick access to the freeway. And you're thinking, great, when I move there, I'm going to be able to be at work 15 minutes earlier every day. And then you find out that road takes 3 years to build, and you're 15 minutes late to work every day.
Yeah.
Those things are things that actually happen. So,
Yes.
Be aware of those, I guess, so that you don't get caught along the way.
Just ask the question. And we're not saying that to throw developers under the bus, because my understanding, Darren, is a lot of it, the delay comes down to red tape.
Council, absolutely.
All that stuff. So it's not like they're deliberately holding things back just because they don't want to. It's more around, if you're going with a big developer, we've covered this before, if you go, the bigger the developer, the more likely to be on time they are, because they're probably a bit higher up the priority list. However, you probably can be expecting to pay a bit more for those blocks. If you go with a mid-size or a smaller one, you probably get a better price block, but they will, sometimes have some trouble getting their titles on time. Not to say that's always the case, but that's why we're saying just talk to them openly and honestly about it. Ask them how they went in stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, and then allow for that extra few month buffer in your quote up front. So then you're cool. You've got it covered, nothing too concerned. And, it can happen where it's delayed, 12 months, 24 months and things like that. But that's not like every estate. That's more of a rare occasion. Yeah. It's an outlier. Yeah.
And things happen, the old story of the golden sun moth, or, the delays at a whole estate. These things can happen. They're very rare. Generally, developers are pretty good. Most of them, would be within a month or two of their expected date, generally speaking. And with some of those infrastructure things, Cole, sales rates might be flying along. I know if you look in Geelong at one stage, Warra Lily Estate was selling 100 blocks a month in, month out, for 2 years. I mean, unbelievable sales rate. Biggest selling estate in the country at that stage. Their sales rates aren't anything like that right now. So all of a sudden they were expecting all these additional people at that sort of rate. They might have been, well, hold on, there's going to be, because there'll be often population trigger points for these things to happen.
Yeah.
They might say the new school or the new shops open when we get another 1,000 people. Then the sales rate's slow. And that 1,000 people all of a sudden, instead of taking a year, takes 3 years.
Yeah.
And the shopping centre says, well, there's not enough people there to open. We can't open a shop and run unprofitable.
Yeah.
So Coles says, sorry, I'm not going to open yet. And you're like, well, you promised me, but well, we promised you, yes, but it is still happening, and it will happen in this period of time once that population gets there. So just be patient. And once those things happen, I've got a Coles down the road that opened not long after we moved in here. So good when it happened.
Yeah.
Like the flexibility you get. So just, hold on and it'll happen.
Yeah. Oh, they want settlements. Developers want settlements, like builders want to finish houses. But
absolutely.
Not holding it back deliberately, but it does happen. So
yeah.
We're just trying to help you. Number 4, last one here is choose a reliable conveyancer that has direct experience with construction lending. We cannot emphasize that enough. Construction lending experience, and they can tell you confidently they've done it before, and they're going to continue doing it, because that's important, that they know what they're dealing with. With untitled land, it's a little bit different. You need the conveyancer and your broker as part of your team. They need to be talking to each other and understanding each other, that the finance needs this long to you to get the deposit saved up. The conveyancer can see the titles, etc., the timing, and make sure that's all in place. That's a definite massive tip. And along with a couple others we generally share, Darren, make sure you have a condition in your contract around making sure A, the site is clean and clear, and B, all pegs are present upon settlement as provided by the developer, so you don't have to pay for re-establishment survey and a site clean. So
now, Cole, you've jumped ahead of the gun though. So I'm going to go back to number 3 and run through number 3, because you've jumped straight through to number 4. He's racing on today. But number 3,
I have to. Look at me go.
Right, hey? Right all over it. Get a building quote before signing up. Make sure you do that, right? Obviously, that ensures you get a floor plan that suits your block. So, again, it just gives you some, keeps you on the straight and narrow. Make sure that you're going to get a house that's going to fit and it's going to be within the funds you can do. Make sure you understand and account for any of the state requirements. So they may say you need render on your facade, or you need a water tank, or you need other bits and pieces that you need to address. So make sure you understand those. It could be that you need to have exposed aggregate driveway or something like that to come at an additional cost. So just be mindful. And, again, we're fans of estate covenants, and we're fans of a number of those things, because generally, if there's a higher level of estate covenants, the house looks so much nicer. Not all of them do that, but generally they're there to protect the look and feel of the place. And that means not only for yourself, but for your neighbours as well. And it keeps the street looking fantastic. And really important part that's often overlooked is obviously that price lock period and the monthly contingency therefore after. So if the builder locks it in for 12 months, then understanding if it's going to be 14, 16, 18 months, there's going to be a cost. And like you said earlier, Cole, as a rough number, about $1,000 a month. So if it's going to be 6 months later, allow about $6,000 extra for that. And ideally, just get the builder to price it in. If they don't use it, they should be giving those funds back to you. But at least when you're factoring in your cost to make sure that you're in really good shape from a financial perspective, that those funds are accounted for. So that's number 3. We've wrapped up number 4 already. Cole, any last words to?
Just on the contingency one, make sure you know when that ends as well. So there will be a cap. So often builders will have a contingency period up to X amount of months, 18, 24 months. However, if you hit that time frame, they'll then say that will revert back to current day pricing, which who knows what that could be in 2 years from now. Okay, so understand the contingency. Get your consultant to explain it to you 3 times if you need, until you understand it, and make sure there's a bit of buffer in there from your proposed title time frame from the developer, and that gives you your best chance. Yeah,
for sure.
Fantastic. Well, as always, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Please jump on homebuildinghub.com.au for any, topic ideas, any questions you want to send us, no problem. And 5-star review, please, on the platform you're on. That would be greatly appreciated. And I guess that's about it, Daz. Until next time, we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the podcast, guys. And just our disclaimer, whilst we're all about providing value to you, this podcast should not be considered as legal or financial advice. It contains general information only, and you should seek out independent professional advice on your personal situation before making any legal or financial decisions.
1,